suggest that sometime before July of next year, one of the three arms of control is lost, and that would be one of their arms of control. That would either be the press, the military, or the political, or the economic. We'll leave religion aside for a moment. But and we'd always thought around here that, it was going to be the press, and then as events keep going on, it seems that economic is certainly going to crash. But that doesn't necessarily remove the powers that be as a source of control for them. It even may make things easier with so many people being poor. However, we keep coming back to these strange little bits of data that pop up occasionally that suggest that they're going to lose absolute control over the press. And then if you go on down into the data there and drill down into the details, because you're a curious human and you see this thing and how could that possibly be? How would that work out? You see things in there where, for instance, the press will be vilified and even beat up by people in restaurants and stuff, and people will, spit on them and throw garbage on the press trucks because they just won't like the press very much.
Right.
And I always assumed that was the detail level showing how they would lose control, that it would be a generalized upwelling against the press. And what if we're wrong? There seems to be some suggestion that maybe, as you say, there will be like a hijacked attempt, and it may not even be that it comes from humanity per se or terrestrial humanity, and that the powers that be may find themselves here sometime over the next year dealing with the issue that for some period of time the ability to do planet-wide broadcasts is not under their control anymore. And we do have some data to support that. It doesn't necessarily say it's going to be space aliens, but it doesn't rule it out because of the place that we're getting that data from, and the fact that it's within that data stream that is loosely defined as the alien wars and has a tendency to support that as we go further. So maybe it's just an extraneous signal that just were to black out all the TV and everything for a few hours, and it's just this very large, strong signal from space, kind of a sort of a sound version or a non-sound version, if you will, of all the electricity stopping in the movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
And it may just be sort of a big heads up without being too intrusive. We're just going to shut all your communications down for, 5 hours or something and then turn it back on. And everybody will be wondering, what's up?
When Serge Monast was writing Operation Bluebeam, which he died of a very strange heart attack before he got it published, but there are a few copies out of it. He was talking about a worldwide network, not only where they show, Jesus in the sky with diamonds and Mohammed and Mary and all of that, but it was a voice. It was a worldwide voice heard in every language of the world. And
it's awful hard to accomplish, but I'm not saying that couldn't be done, but from a technical viewpoint, that would be very impressive.
The aliens could do it, I would bet.
Yeah, it's actually a matter of tweaking consciousness. In any event, you needn't actually produce sound per se. It doesn't mean, of course, that it's anything that is being proffered.
Oh, now we get into the fact that everything that I have ever been told by anyone, the aliens don't need to talk. They communicate telepathically.
So I've heard, and I've actually been in contact with a guy who claims to have worked in deep ops and have worked with space aliens or extraterrestrials. I always call all these guys space aliens. I perhaps shouldn't. But in any event, with non-speaking humans, and he does say that it is telepathic, and that it's really cool, and it makes you feel energized and euphoric almost.
Yes, the nurse that supposedly interviewed the alien that lived after the crash in Roswell, the alien communicated with her, taught her telepathy.
Yes, I think I know the book or the volume you're referring to, and I think that's a hoax. The language
I tend to agree with you, but I'm still going to interview the guy.
Yeah.
But because it's just fascinating.
It was well done, but the language doesn't represent how language was used at the time. There's current connotations that wouldn't have been used at the time of the supposed writing.
Right. And, of course, the fact that he destroyed the originals. Nobody destroys originals like that. No.
Yeah. A little suspicious. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what got my hackles up. And of course, he won't let me interview him. One of our writers at Rumour Mill is going to be the interviewer.
Okay.
So it's going to be very interesting. I'll be on the line and listening.
Right.
But it's going to be an interesting interview. I'll say that for it.
Well, I'm always impressed by language and what it reveals about what's going on in the background of the thinker and the producer of it. And like I say, there was a bunch of language in that particular volume that is not as it would have been in the 40s and the 50s. They just would not have used terms that way. They did not. And so you can analyze things what are known as SKID, which is subject knowledge elucidates the domain. And it forms a nice little background for you, and you can say, the language here is not as it would have been used 100 years ago.
Right. Getting into what you mean by meme, what is the contact meme?
Meme is a thought virus. It's a M-E-M-E, and it's not my term. It's generally used in linguistics, and it refers to a thought virus that seems to have a life of its own, for instance. So the alien abduction thing is a meme in the sense that people know it. All you have to do is say alien abduction, and you're dealing with the context. In a larger sense, you needn't supply a lot of details for it because the meme is usually well known by the people you're discussing it with.
Okay, and what did you see when you were looking out there? Oh, we'll get right back to contact meme on the other side of the break. This hour and a half has gone way too fast.
Just disappears, doesn't it?
It does. Welcome back. This is Raylan Allen, and I'm the publisher of RumourMillNews.com. When you go to the front page, click through to the reading room because that's where all the hottest news is. We're talking with Cliff High from the WEBBOT project, HalfPastHuman.com. And Cliff, I have to tell you, my computer crashed. Everything that could possibly go wrong during those 3 minutes went wrong.
Oh, no.
And I know that we were talking about the contact meme.
Yes.
But I can't remember where we left off. Do you remember?
Yeah, sure. We left off with a description of what a meme is, and that's the thought virus component. And we all have to acknowledge, especially as old farts here, that in our lifetime, say from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s of the last century and millennium, we've seen a huge increase in the generalized contact expressions in the media and all around us, movies, etc. Yeah, everybody used to produce science fiction movies all the time about space aliens, but just in general discourse, the whole concept of contact with beings other than ourselves as intelligence on this planet even has risen to very great degrees over these last 30 or 40 years. And it's now seemingly coming to something of a focus, at least within our work, around the middle to late part of 2011. And it, unfortunately, is underneath the umbrella of alien wars. I wish it was, alien picnic or something, but it didn't quite work out that way. However, it changes everything, and it brings up the issue of other labels. So, for instance, the minute we have contact, we have people rushing off to create free energy devices because they know the aliens use them, and therefore they're as smart as the aliens, and they think they can do it, and so on. That also changes everything else. The minute we have contact and the idea of free energy, there's no such thing anymore as, capitalists or communists. It just doesn't exist. We're all universalists because anybody can have anything they want through the virtue of the free energy. And so capitalism, which is one form of dealing with scarcity, and communism, which is another form of dealing with scarcity, go away because we don't have scarcity as an overriding issue. And so also probably the idea of nation states will fade over time because if you can live anywhere on the planet you want and take your energy with you and maybe, giant floating motorhome kind of concept, then really where do you decide you have your allegiance? And with the technology that comes from contact, we also get the idea of potentially the elimination of a need of a healthcare system because maybe there's other ways of dealing with it, right?
Right.
So, in fact, the Russians seem to be well into this, and those parts of the planet that are into contact, that is to say, into the open phase of dumping all their records on the Internet, and the Russians are just being marvelous about this, and especially, and this will be interesting for you, Ray, is that they're doing it through their Navy. Curious, eh?
Well, I have one of the things my readers know, but maybe not these listeners know. is my husband, who was very high in what we call the secret Navy, told me that all the navies of the world are connected.
Correct.
And